Yo, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Sticks and Stones Podcast, where we talk about life, love, and the brotherhood of the leaf, cigars and cigar smoking. So I decided to do something a little bit different. I did a podcast last night about the Gurkha Sample Pack. There's 6 cigars in this sample pack, and I am going to smoke one a day with you guys with a different beverage. So today I have 4 shots of espresso. I'm a little bit of a caffeine fanatic, and this is going to be just a potluck. This is going to be a lucky grab. So let's see. This morning I am going to go with the Marquesa. The Gurkha Marquesa. So let's give it a snippy. I'm gonna go super fancy, super gentlemanly like this morning. And we're going to go with the cigar scissors. This is a ring gauge, so should be okay. Hello, Governor. Give that a cold draw. I can tell already this is going to be good. All right. Let's torch it. Again, this is just my preference of how I do things. I roll it around the flame, try not to get too close to the flame. Don't want to overcook this thing. Just want to get an even burn all the way around, because you don't want to get a weird burn. Like it burns too fast on one side and not enough on the other. I mean, sometimes with humidification, you can't really help that, but you don't want to have a shitty light. Mimic the puffing. Give it a once over. And we're off. Party on, Wayne. That's good. So I smoked the Beast last night. And I'm gonna say that spice wise, this is almost the same. Like, you can definitely sense a bit of spice, but it's not overly spicy. Ooh, I'm getting... What is that? How does it pair with the espresso? Really well. If you didn't listen in or watch the podcast, episode 21, I don't know much about Gurkha cigars. I've always stayed away from them because when I first started smoking, I knew that they were really strong, so I stayed away. Wasn't really a big fan of Gurkha, so I got the sampler pack. There's 6 cigars in it, and I don't know anything about any one of them. I haven't smoked either of them. As of right now, this is the 4th Gurkha cigar I've ever smoked. Let's look up the Google machine and see what it says about this particular cigar. Okay. Utilizing a soft and silky Sumatra wrapper leaf, Gurkha Marquesa delivers a medium body profile that includes hints of roasted nuts. That's what that was. Slight saltiness, natural tobacco crispiness, and a sweet core of flavor. This is a Sumatra wrapper, a Habano binder, Nicaraguan filler, and rolled in the Dominican Republic. And I would look for the Magnum. This comes in a Robusto, so 5 by 52, a Toro, 6 by 54, a Bellicoso, 5 by 54, and a Magnum, 6 by 60. So that's my jam right there, the Magnum. Like a salted nut flavor, like reminiscent of like a festival, fair, carnival kind of thing. That's what that was. Yep. So I'm enjoying this very, very much. So this is a fresh new week to talk business a little. But doing a lot of prospecting this week. I am focusing on monetizing my network, connecting as many people with as many people as I possibly can, creating relationships and creating business opportunities for other people in other trades and things like that. I am prospecting for listings here in the state of Texas. I'm working on some projects for friends of mine in the development space. We're looking for land or buildings that we can knock down and build various different structures on that land. I've got some construction work going on. I've got helping my family members get their logistic and transportation companies off the ground. So pretty busy week. Now back to the cigar. That nuttiness is pretty prevalent, and I am not mad. I'm not mad at all. This is a great stick. So, something that I've been thinking about in my head as you turn on social media, the news, financial news, whatever, and you see talks about all kinds of big deals happening, big transactions, billions are being thrown around like it was nothing. Compass Realty purchased Anywhere, which it was the parent company of Coldwell Banker, which is where my licenses are hung, to form Compass International Holdings. And I think it was a multi-billion-dollar deal. And I was sitting there and I'm saying to myself, what would you do if you hit the lottery? If you hit the lottery and won $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever, like what would you do with that money? And first and foremost, I'm going to say, I think that everybody thinks this, everybody, thinks about this. I'll put money on this. I'll bet on this that whatever anybody says they do with the money, whoever does end up hitting the lottery, if you ask those people, if you took a poll of all the lottery winners since the lottery was a thing, as you're going to buy your lottery ticket, everybody has an idea of what they're going to do with that money. I guarantee, like I said, I'll put money on it. The people that actually hit the lottery, I think it's like fractions of a percent of the people that actually did what they were planning on doing with the money. I think once you see that many zeros in your bank account, you lose your fucking mind. That's just my opinion. It's my own thought. Don't know that for a fact. But I'll bet you if you look at the statistics, most of those, first of all, I think most of those people that hit the lottery end up going broke years later. I actually did hear a story about one of the lottery winners that hit the lottery and then used that money to fund an illegal drug empire and ended up either turning himself in or getting caught and going to jail or whatever. That was an interesting one. But what would I do with lottery funds? I know there's a couple buckets that I would put the money in. Obviously, half of that money, 40-some% is coming right off the top, going to taxes, going to Uncle Sam. We're talking about lottery here in the United States. So taxes is going to come right off the top. I would say some buckets would be family, making sure my family is secure, trust funds for children and house for parents and stuff like that. Make sure that no one has to pay a bill again. Not to say that giving somebody an easy life is the best route, because sometimes, you have to have drive and you have to have a little bit of a struggle to be a well-balanced person, I believe, in my opinion. I would say nonprofit would be another bucket that I would put a good chunk of money into. I have thoughts and dreams and aspirations for the nonprofit world and what I would do for different charities and different organizations, maybe even starting a charity and putting money into that to go help people. I think I forget the statistic, but the fact, it's not a statistic, it's a fact. If you read the Bible, in the Bible, I think about over 2,000 times, it talks about helping the disadvantaged. So a big chunk of my lottery winnings would go into nonprofit. And I work with some organizations right now that work in the nonprofit space. And so I would devote not just money, but time to that. And then I would say that I would put a big chunk in investments, which a big section of that investment bucket would be real estate, commercial real estate, 100%. I would diversify my portfolio. I'd purchase some multifamily buildings. I would purchase a retail strip or two, or a retail center, value add retail center, probably an office building or two. I have thoughts about the office market that I'm sure a lot of people do not share with me, but I have my thoughts on the office asset class. So I would diversify and have multiple asset classes in my real estate portfolio, industrial space, some warehouses. I have a good round portfolio of properties. Because look, nobody can predict the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Everybody that was in the office space and had a ton of office buildings in their portfolio nearly lost everything in the pandemic because the office market took such a tanking that If you had all your eggs in that basket, there was a big omelet being made because all them eggs cracked. But I guess, I mean, that's a general, outlook on what I would do with lottery money. But it goes a lot deeper. It's a much longer conversation, but that's just my thought. And again, I could hit the lottery tomorrow and all of that change, for good or for bad. You never know. I also think that people who hit the lottery, kind of winnings, any kind of winnings, sweepstake, whatever you want to call it, inheritance, anybody who's given or has a windfall, a financial windfall of a lot of money very quickly, I don't think that people should stop working, because I know a lot of people quit their job, whatever. And if you are not good with managing money, you will run out of that money, and then you got to go find a job again. If you are one of those people that are not good with managing money, I highly recommend going to a wealth manager, people who manage money, other people's money for a living. I have a couple of friends that actually do it. They're very good at what they do, and they know what they're doing, and they can put your money into places that will make you money. Bare minimum, you're not going to lose money. You're not going to spend it and, be broke later. So, coffee's still holding up. Cigar is phenomenal. Take a photo of that before I forget. I do not regret this one, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Good start to the day, man. So, there's a lot of stuff in the news about all kinds of random stuff, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm a conspiracy theorist. Not like the crazy type that, I need a padded room or an aluminum foil hat. Nothing like that. But I do believe that people in power want to stay in power, and in order to stay in power, they want followers. They want people who are going to follow them blindly. They do and say stuff to fool you, to dumb you down, to numb you. So it's like, it's just, I find it very, very odd that massacres will happen and it does not make the media. It doesn't make the news. And we're going to war with foreign countries, and, a missile was dropped on a civilian hotel, apparently. But then other people are saying that they're there. This is the missile that fell on a hotel in Dubai, and somebody was, on social media that lives in Dubai and was like, no such thing, never happened. So there's all sorts of shit going on that you don't even know what's the truth. You don't know what's a lie. You don't know what's a fake. And I think that there's a lot at hand here. I definitely think there's biblical stuff happening. But, it's like, while all this is going on, there's like a controversy about grok and censorship and, a bunch of different things that you don't know what the core of the situation is. Like, how do I explain that? So like, let's call them the elite. Let's call them the top brass. You don't know what they're actually focused on. So you don't know what the underlying truth is to everything that's happening. Are they trying to steer all of these AIs to one way? Are they trying to create Skynet? For anybody who doesn't know, check out the Terminator movies. Are they purposely trying to create Skynet? Are they trying to wage war with everyone else for an underlying reason? Are we ever going to know? Is the truth ever going to come out? The whole world was up in arms about the Epstein files. As far as I know, nothing has been done about it. I mean, they finally, after the longest time, released the Epstein files. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to look into it. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But from what I've heard, just on social media, which you can't believe anyway, but from what I've heard, it's just some ugly, evil, nasty, horrible, inhumane stuff that happened on that island, and I'm sure other various places. And I'm sure Jeffrey Epstein wasn't the only person providing all of those services for these top brass people. So I'm sure there's multiple people around the globe that provide these places and services and parties for these people. But it was like months and months, and I don't know how many months, but everybody fighting, release the files, release the files, release the files. The files get released, and essentially nothing was done. I mean, we found out a lot of ugly stuff about people that, some people were our heroes, and some people were just completely unknown, but are now known. So much information was put out, and nothing was done. So was it a smokescreen? Was it a distraction? Or, let's distract everybody to worry about this and not worry about this? Watch this hand while this hand comes and cold cocks you? I don't know. But I can safely tell you this. There's a lot of shit going on, guys. There's a lot of shit going down. There's a lot of scary shit going down. We're like on the brink of World War III. I don't know if it'll get to that. There's all kinds of theories going on around the globe. I've heard some people saying that this is all a sham, that this is like a scripted play, that world leaders are all playing this game like a charade of, hey, you do this and then I'll do this, and then it's a scripted fight, basically. It's like professional wrestling. Hey, we're gonna get in the ring and we're gonna do this, but you're gonna win, and then I'm gonna take home a big chunk of money. Who knows? Who the hell knows? But all I know is shit's getting real, guys. Shit is getting real. These world powers see it as collateral damage, but there's human lives being lost here. And that's, allied soldiers, bad guy soldiers, innocent civilians. I mean, people are dying. People are dying. People are going missing. I mean, that's, the one thing I heard about these Epstein files is that a lot of children were abducted and trafficked and just ugly, ugly shit. Essentially, what's being done? Nothing, really. And it's not just here in the United States. I think that, corruption goes across the board, across the globe. So essentially, you've got people like us that get up every day, get out there and, try to make a living for yourselves and make a living for your family and abide by the laws and all that good stuff. And then you've got people that literally play the system, steal money from governments, siphon money out of, and we're talking like billions of dollars, and nothing happens to them. Which, we all have our thoughts. We all have our opinions. It is what it is, I guess. But is it right? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, the long and the short of it is, look, when you give your money to your government, the government that, you live in the United States, you give your money to the U.S. government, the federal government, you give your money to the state government, whatever state you live in, and every state's, varies on their position on taxes. I heard that, shout out to the state of Florida, when you buy a home primary residence, you no longer pay property tax in Florida. So that's pretty cool. But regardless, when you give your hard-earned money to your governing body, you would hope that that money is going to better your life and that of your community, the community you live in, whether that be, your neighborhood, your city, your county, your state, and the United States, the federal government in itself as a whole. You would think that the government takes in billions of dollars from its citizens, that those billions are going to go back into the country in which we live. You would think that that's happening, but apparently it's not. We're finding out that it's not. We're finding out that money's being siphoned and it's being funneled out, going all over the world, going into people's pockets that it shouldn't be going in. And that money is being used to buy mansions and cars and going to celebrity parties and hobnobbing with all of the elites. If you and I were to do that, we'd go to fucking jail. And not like jail, not like a holding cell. We're going to federal penitentiary. Something just don't sit right with me about that. However, I digress. A little too deep, a little too hot and heavy for a morning smoke with you guys. But if I'm thinking it, there's got to be millions of other people thinking it. Regardless. The Marquesa by Gurkha. This is a great stick. And I gotta say, the band is pretty badass too. I mean, the artwork here is pretty crazy. For those of you that are watching on YouTube. So, highly recommend this cigar. I am going to finish this bad boy. And I wish all of you a wonderful, productive, prosperous, efficient week ahead as we truck on through the year of 2026. It's crazy how we're in March. We're at the tail end of the first quarter of the new year. So, be that as it may, I wish you all a wonderful week. I hope lots of production and business and happiness happen for you this week. I am going to finish the rest of this and get back to my regularly scheduled program of business and whatnot. Yeah, I think might do another episode tomorrow. Who knows? We might just go straight through this thing and have an episode a day to get through this sample pack. But I think it's a good idea. I think we'll be doing more of these sample pack series going forward because I think it's a cool idea. It's also, I get a benefit because I'm smoking stuff that I have not smoked before. So we'll take it from there. Again, I wish you a wonderful week. Stay blessed, everyone. And above all else, keep it rolling, baby.